Something a little bit suspicious with Bleach 1000 Year Blood War episode 2. Something a little bit off. Yo, Uryu, I'm kind of looking at you a little bit funny after the shocking reveals in this episode, baby. I'm not even gonna lie. Bleach 1000 Year Blood War episode 2, aka Bleach episode 368. Definitely huge and monumental. Honestly, I'm not sure how many chapters this episode adapted of the Bleach manga, but I can assure you that it definitely felt like it packed a lot of content. I remember very vividly. In case you don't know, I reviewed the Bleach manga back in the day, which is why you should subscribe and hit that bell, because I know a lot about anime and manga, okay, people? So I'm 100% certain when I tell you that they definitely put a lot of content from the manga into this episode. I mean, alone, some of these moments like the Harribel moment, some of these moments like Nell, some of these moments like the introduction to Stern Ritter, Jay, a lot of these things felt like they were singular chapters in and of themselves back in the day in the manga, and it was just like, wham, here's what happened with Hueco Mundo, wham, here's what happened with Harribel's crew, wham, here's what happened with Harribel. And this episode, my gosh, if you are gonna build up a ruthless tyrant of a leader and basically a big bad villain, especially to follow up one of the most grandiose villains of all time, Sosuke Aizen, which, yo, name dropping him, Stern Ritter J. Keep Aizen's name out your mouth, you sucker, because I was like, dog, why you talking about Aizen for, dog? You got a little bit scared of the man, huh? Even though he's wherever the hell they got him locked up and chained up down there, you want to talk a little bit of smack. If Aizen was in your face, dog, you wouldn't be saying that same tune. I just gotta throw that out there. But kicking off the episode with Yhwach straight up and down, like mercilessly torturing his own peoples, I was like, that's how you do it, dog. That's how you build up the threat between last week's episode, where essentially they went through and they were slaughtering in the Soul Society. R.I.P. Sasakibe. They had to hold a wake for homie because, yeah, and if you're able to take down somebody at that caliber, right? Because this episode really just demonstrates, like, this ain't no walk in the park. Whoever we're facing right here, this WANDENREICH, so to speak, and this guy, Bach, these are no jokes, because at the end of the day, if you're able to take out Sasakibe, if you're able to take out Harribel and her crew, if you're able to take out all of these very formidable, and I'm not using that loosely by any means, like, if anything, it's an understatement, so to speak. If you're able to take out these caliber of fighters and these caliber of basically competition, you're no joke by any means. And then on top of that, dog, between the dude that he had his legs chopped off and then eventually blew his head off, and then he's like, yeah, okay, yo, you didn't do anything to impress me. You didn't disappoint, I'm not gonna lie. Like, Eburn, you didn't disappoint me, but you also ain't really doing anything, like, impressive or anything like that. You gotta go. Thanks for the message. Pow! And I'm like, Yhwach, whatever you want to call yourself, dog. Like, fam, chill out, what you doing here? And it was like a mixture and a blend of just all around emotion with this episode, because it starts off kind of even depressing in a way, where they get the call from Soul Society of what just went down, and you see Ichigo, Orihime, everybody is just like down and out hearing this news, because it's like, probably, I'd imagine, first of all, damn, we just went through, all this stuff with Aizen, and then we had a little bit of a break, and then we had all this stuff with the Fullbringer, and now, again, more drama for your mama, so to speak, and that'll be very much so referenced later on down the road. No spoilers, don't worry, but, yo, just so much chaos, and I'm there like, yo, dog, the background music in this episode, some of those guitars, some of those, it sounds like blues or jazz or whatever, I was like, yes, okay, yes, you're gonna bring a new OST into the Bleach franchise. Let's hear it and let it be at this caliber. I was loving it. The music in the background of this episode, mwah. And so far, I referenced a couple of different things, right? I referenced epicness, that, again, Bach blowing off the heads of some of his people that rock with him. You got the kind of depressing, sad music, the somber nature of hearing that Soul Society has been under attack and things is going wrong. There was people that showed up and just slaughtered Sasakibe. So there you got that information. Then also they threw in a little bit of comedy, which is again why I feel like it felt like so much content happening at the same time, but it didn't necessarily feel like, oh, they're rushing. It didn't necessarily feel like, oh, this is going way too quick. It kind of felt like they were cutting out some of the stuff that is not necessarily unnecessary, but at the same time it's like, yo, do you really need it when you want to pack a punch? Because then on top of that, they throw in the comedy of, you got Nell falling from the sky, bawling her eyes out. Ichigo. I was like, Oh, yo. It reminds you of Bleach is back, to be honest with you. It reminds you that, yo, these are all of the elements all wrapped in one of what Bleach would deliver back in the day. And in 2022, it's delivering it yet again in absolute pristine quality. And something that I referenced earlier regarding Harribel, which I ain't gonna lie, I was a little bit confused and maybe I'm just misremembering or whatnot, but it was, I remember in the anime, I felt like there was a possibility that Stark didn't die. The way he was like defeated, it didn't showcase him necessarily dying, and I don't really remember this line in the manga, but I'm 100% sure it actually happened. I'm not saying, hey, they inserted this, whatever, but when they were referencing, basically Bach was like, oh, Hueco Mundo's mine already, dog, and he removes the sheet, and you see Harribel there, and I'm like, oh, Maria, no, Harribel, you so hot, stop it, take her down. But then it's also referenced that basically with the falling and death of not only Baragon, I clearly knew, yo, he got ripped, so to speak, but then Stark, I was a little bit like, wait, did Stark die? I guess he did, huh? Like, I was a little bit confused on that because, you know, in those battles, some of those fights didn't necessarily explicitly showcase, like, yo, dude is dead now. So I was a little bit shocked that, oh, wow, you know, like, Stark died. Not necessarily shocked because I remember that Harribel had basically taken over as, like, ruler of Hueco Mundo, but I was just like, damn, man. R.I.P. Stark. Maybe I just suppressed that memory because I was like, dog, Stark is so epic, especially if you ever played Bleach Soul Resurrection. Oh my god, he was freaking incredible in that game. But side note, Bach defeating and capturing the current ruler of Hueco Mundo, Harribel, and having her there, and I was like, god damn, if you want to demonstrate how, in a very quick manner at that, epic somebody is, look what he did. He's already conquered Hueco Mundo. He invaded and took out one of the Captain Commander's people in the Soul Society. He's running amok, and we're 2 episodes deep. Then following, of course, Nell showing up, we got Pesce there, and I was like, oh god, here we go with Pesce again. Like, again, a lot of these elements, it almost felt like, to a certain degree, now that I think about it, with this episode especially, it felt like a very much so faster paced version of the intro to Soul Society. Like, obviously Pesce wasn't in the intro to Soul Society, but just all of these elements, and then Kisuke Urahara showing up at just the right time, that always makes you question, like, who are you, fam? Who are you? How do you know these things, dog? And him basically creating the gateway, so to speak, for them to make it to Hueco Mundo. I was just like, this feels like Soul Society all over again, but in an epic way. And I'm not saying that they're retreading plot threads, because this is very different than a rescue Rukia arc, so to speak. It's just like, it gave you all of that you love. Like, Soul Society is one of my favorite arcs of Bleach. It's a classic arc of the series, and to see that same feeling all over again, it just felt good. And of course, having that funeral for Sasakibe, I feel like it also demonstrates just that now all of the Captain Commanders are gonna understand, like, this isn't any run-of-the-mill threat, right? This isn't that, hey, somebody was out in the world of the living and something bad happened, or hey, you know, it's nothing small time, and it's definitely a lot grander than a lot of the things that Bleach has delivered beforehand, where somebody legit invaded Soul Society, did what they did, dipped out, and there was no repercussions so far. Like, nothing bad has happened to the bad guys. Also, quick note of something we just talked about, the whole Bach conquering Hueco Mundo and defeating Harribel, that shot of him up in the air and stuff like that, like, makes you kind of wonder what type of powers this dude rocking with. And also the fact that they nabbed Don Chaka, I believe his name was, like, I forget, that was okay. Now Pesce, Don Chaka, and what was the worm dog thingy-majig was Bawa, I think, or something like that. Like, oh man, just all the nostalgia. But then, going back to what I referenced earlier in the very beginning of this video, something very fishy, dog. Something is a little bit afoot, so to speak, with Uryu, because Uryu basically tells them as they're planning, like, yo, Nell came for help, Pesce came for help, we gotta go help Hueco Mundo. Like, who else is gonna do it if not us, you know what I'm saying? And Chad is down for the cause, or the Hime, of course, with all of her loving, so to speak, is down for the cause. But then Uryu's there like, fam, I'm a Quincy, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't really do this, dog. But you was a Quincy for a lot of other events in Bleach, and you was just fine partaking in all that stuff. But now, you know, hollows. I just can't. I was just kind of like, okay, Uryu, all right. If that's how you want to play it, okay, fine. But then, when you go later on into the episode, and you find out that the WANDENREICH and all of these people are Quincy, kind of makes you look at, Uryu, what are you doing here, dog? I always wanted to do that. Like, really, dog? Why? I'm just saying, like, hey, you never know, dog. Maybe he might see his kinfolk and be like, yo, dog, I kind of like their swag. I might, partake, so to speak. Because he did reference the whole history of Quincy's and, hollows and all that stuff. Anyways, he might have a little bit, you know what I'm saying? When he was trying to warn Ichigo about these people, he's like, they might, and he gets cut off. Like, they might what, dog? They might what? They might be the type of people you want to rock with. Don't play with me, Uryu. Don't. We'll get your father, dog. Like, but then eventually we arrive to Hueco Mundo and we see that this dude, Stern Ritter J, which it's a spoiler, I guess, but it's not a big deal. I think it was even shown, I'm not sure, but I remember in the manga his name was Kurge, and it'll probably be referenced later on, but this was straight up like referencing essentially straight up like Nazi type of stuff. I ain't gonna lie, like it was straight up Nazi type of stuff. The brutality, everything, the design and whatnot, the way they were moving, it really felt like this was some Nazi stuff, and essentially that would make Bach, yeah, Adolf, hey, I don't even want to dive into that bag. Let's just leave that right there. But essentially, the Stern Ritter J guy has a whole bunch of prisoners that he has captured from Hueco Mundo, and he is essentially torturing them and saying, yo, if you come and lick my boots and beg, I might give you an opportunity to fight to be able to join up with us. And he just starts stabbing, and his own crew is like, he's not even planning on bringing none of these people back. Like, what are we doing here, dog? But then we get the big reveal of Loli and Manoli there. And honestly, I forgot who they were rocking with at the time. At first, I was like, wait a minute. That's not Harribel's crew, right? Was it Stark? Like, who was they rocking with? But either way, it was nice to see them again. It's been so freaking long. Like, how many years since we saw them, especially animated or whatnot. And yeah, they get bodied by Stern Ritter J. Like, Kurge just pakata down on the ground, boom. And then even further after all of that, because again it was kind of like weird, like first they're saying that everybody's dead in Hueco Mundo, can't feel nobody there, Ichigo's there, like, oh, can't feel nobody, but then the Tres Bestia, basically the three besties of Harribel's crew as well, show up, and their designs, mwah. And that was one of the things that again reminded me, this is going by a bit quick, because I remember that was quite a few chapters into the Blood War before they actually made their appearance, and I was like, holy shit, that was a decent amount of chapters in. So yeah, again, I might be off on it. It might have only been like 2 or 3 chapters. That felt like a lot of chapters or a lot of content all the way into the Blood War. And granted, because we have like 204 chapters, I think, that need to be adapted into 52 episodes. I understand that things are going to feel a little bit fast, especially considering that it has been confirmed there's going to be extended scenes and whatnot that were originally supposed to be in the manga and battles and all that stuff. So yeah, probably in the beginning we're going to get this really blitz fast pacing, also to remind people just how epic Bleach is in a very quick moment. So I understand that that's how it's going to go at the very least in the beginning. I hope it does slow down to a little bit of a nicer groove as we continue, because yeah, while this was insane and all of these moments is like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I do want to get to a point where it's like, okay, we're steady grooving, you know what I'm saying? Steady grooving. We need a little bit of that groove. And again, referencing how Stern Ritter J was just talking down on Aizen, saying, yo, if he was rocking with people like Loli and Manoli and these people, like, Aizen was not all of that. And I was like, if he was here right now, you would be bowing down to him and licking his boots. Get out of here with that stuff, dog. Don't talk down on the guy, you know what I'm saying? I was like, yo. And the episode ends off with, as Ichigo just arrived, seeing Stern Ritter J and them, Harribel's crew, the Tres Bestia, the 3 besties have fallen, and god damn, dog, like, yo, again, a great and incredible way to, in a very fast time, showcase how epic this new threat is. And if this Stern Ritter J guy isn't even the leader and he's doing all of this, imagine what that Bach guy that popped freaking Eburn's head off, what is he capable of? I mean, it's just absolute madness. And again, I think like almost every week I'm going to come in and say, this was great. Very fast, but this was great. Let me know what you guys think. That's all I have on ForneverWorld. And as always, people, have an awesome day. Subscribe and hit that bell. Yeah.